Okay, as I said, this lesson could make you feel a little uncomfortable. It discusses some very sensitive topics, and I wanted to record it to just give you some individual time to think about um, your experiences here at Hyatt and your experiences in your personal life at home and with your friends, and to be able to reflect on some of the issues that are discussed today. What we're discussing is focused on the LGBTQ plus community, and I know some of you have said that you're not sure what that means, and so that is representing the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and then plus stands for other sexual identities. And our focus for today is think before you speak. And I think that's a really super important thing for us to learn about in middle school and in any situation. And before you speak, it's important to think about, is what you're saying true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And so what I'm going to do here is just read a few statements, and I would just like you to think about where you stand on these statements. Do you strongly agree? Do you strongly disagree? Or somewhere in between? And so I'm going to read each statement, and I'll just wait about 5 seconds to give you an opportunity to think about where you stand. So phrase number 1. I often hear the phrase, "that's so gay," "you're so gay," "no homo," or the word gay in general used in a negative way among my peers. I often hear terms like faggot and dyke used among my peers. When I hear "that's so gay," it is usually aimed at an object rather than a person. When people say "that's so gay" or "no homo," they do not mean it as an insult against actual LGBTQ people. Regardless of how it is meant, expressions like "that's so gay" and "no homo" are probably insulting or upsetting to LGBTQ people and those who care about them. I have never thought about how expressions like "that's so gay" or "no homo" might make others feel. I have personally used expressions like "that's so gay," "you're so gay," or "no homo" with my peers. I have personally used terms like faggot and dyke with my peers. When expressions like "that's so gay" or "no homo" are aimed directly at me, it bothers me. Expressions like "that's so gay" and "no homo" are okay as long as they are not used to directly attack an LGBTQ person. Expressions like "that's so gay" and "no homo" are never okay to use. It would be impossible to get kids at my school to reduce or stop using terms like "that's so gay" and "no homo." I would personally be willing to limit or curb my use of expressions like "that's so gay" and "no homo." So as I was reading those statements, I asked you to think about whether you agree or disagree. And basically that was just an activity to help you start thinking about the climate here at Hyatt and the frequency of use with statements like "that's so gay," "no homo," words like dyke and faggot. And the important thing to think about when we think about those types of words and phrases, it may not be so much that your friends or maybe even you are using them to be mean. It's just something that you just do. But what's important to remember is this phrase, impact versus intention. You might not mean anything by it, but what's the impact of not only the person you're talking to, but those around that might have heard those comments, right? So we talk about what you said may not necessarily be what they heard, and it's all kind of based on where they come from. So think about a time when you were insulted or hurt by another person, and they brushed it off by saying something like, I didn't mean it like that, or I was just joking. So some things to consider in that situation. How did you react when others dismissed your feelings by saying they didn't mean it? What mattered to you most in the moment? How the other person may have intended the comment or how it affected you? What would you have liked the other person to think about before speaking? And I think we would probably all agree, or most of us would agree, that it's the impact that's most important to the person that heard the harmful or hurtful words, and not so much the intent of the speaker. And so a perfect example of this impact versus intent is this scenario in the hall. And this is just going to be a quick little thing we're gonna discuss or think about. I will read a scenario to you, and then we're going to look at 8 different perspectives. And what I'd like you to do is think about how the impact of those words might have been for them. So students are in the hall just before the start of the period. One student takes off his jacket and is wearing a very bright t-shirt with an unusual design. Another student remarks, "Oh my God, that shirt is so gay." Several students laugh. A teacher who is passing by and overhears the comment tells the student who made the remark to cut it out. The student replies, "I just meant that it's a weird shirt." The teacher tells everyone to get to class. So when we think about other people that were standing around that might have heard that comment, how might they have been affected? What was the impact of that statement or that remark? So the first one is Pedro, the student wearing the bright t-shirt, a gift from a favorite uncle who had just returned from months away in another country. What would have been the impact of that statement on Pedro? Probably pretty negative. Jared, who has been raised by 2 lesbian moms. How might that statement impact him? The same or different? Jared, who is bisexual and has been wrestling with whether or not to come out to his friends. I'm pretty sure the impact of that statement would have been, oh, I better not come out because they might not accept me if they know. Casey, who just joined the school's gay-straight alliance to support a gay cousin. Right? Casey might have been a little angry by that statement. Laura, who is in the drama club and is often teased about being gay, but identifies as straight. Ms. Lewis, an English teacher who is a lesbian, but keeps her identity a secret at school. Pat, who likes outlandish clothes, but always dresses like the other kids when at school so as not to attract negative attention. Well, that remark would pretty much make him not want to wear the clothes that he truly wants to wear to school because he's concerned that his friends might not accept them. Antoine, whose family just moved to town and is starting at this school today. So he's probably just got a idea of how kids act in the school. So as you can see, when you think about each person that might have heard that statement, not just the person that it was intended to, but everyone else that heard it. Each person might have reacted. The impact of that statement had a different effect on each one, and most of them were negative. All of them were negative. So there's some other hurtful comments that you may have heard around school. Comments like, "That's so gamer guy who has more video games than friends." That is a hurtful statement. "That's so cheerleader who can't make or say smart stuff." I've heard that one a lot with kids, and that's hurtful. "That's so jock who can complete a pass but not a sentence." I mean, that's assuming that all jocks aren't smart. All they can do is play sports, and we know that's not true. And when we hear those words, they're hurtful. "That's so nerd who talks to more kids online than at school." Again, hurtful. We don't know where those people come from. We don't know what their life is like, or what their life is like, and those statements can be very hurtful to them. So the point is, let's stop using "that's so gay" or "no homo" and come up with some more original statements. And we've got lots of words here: ludicrous, ridiculous, foolish, silly, goofy, laughable, childish, senseless, pointless, useless, meaningless, tired, weak, pathetic. There's all kinds of words here that could be used in replace of "that's so gay." All right. So we're going to just try a few of these. And so how could we rephrase "that's so gay" with something more original? And I think we'll just do, since we're at about 11 minutes, we'll just do a couple of these. The first one: Randy and Chris are window shopping at their favorite store. Randy points out a pair of sneakers that are orange with bright pink stripes and announces, "Those sneakers are so..." So instead of saying "so gay," maybe we could say something like, "God, they're so original," or "they're so dope," or "they're so cool," or "they're so weird." Again, positive or negative, anything's better than saying "that's so gay." During science class, I'm going to do number 3 here. During science class, a bee flies through the window and startles Theo, who swats at it in a flustered way and sidesteps away from it awkward. Manuel's best friend, "Kids, that was so..." Instead of saying "that's so gay," say, "Wow, that could have been so scary," or "that was so funny," or, "that was so quirky. That was so original." I mean, there's so many better ways to say or to describe situations than "that's so gay." And personally, I think I would have said, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" Because obviously Theo is afraid of bees. Or is he allergic to bees, and if he gets stung, then he has some serious physical effects. So it's important to think about why people react the way they do. So instead of saying "that's so gay," maybe be more supportive and more positive. All right. So I'm going to move on to the end, and I want to wrap things up here because I think we've talked quite a bit about this. Some final reflection questions. So when you're thinking about what we talked about today, though gay is often intended to mean silly or stupid, is that the way it is heard or experienced by everyone? Not just the person that the comment was intended to, but or was intended for, but also everybody around that heard it. How would you say that expressions like "that's so gay," used regularly, impact school climate and culture? Especially those kids, like the kid that was brand new to this school. How did it affect him, and what was the message to him or her? How do you think it would feel to consistently hear gay used to describe something undesirable or stupid when that label also describes who you are or the identity of someone you care about? What other terms are used to describe someone's identity and also used as put downs? Is it ever okay to use language in this way? And finally, when someone tells you that they are offended by this kind of language, is it okay to just say, I didn't mean it that way? How else might you respond? And I would also encourage anyone who finds these words offensive to stand up and ask people to stop using them. So for our journal reflection today, I would just like you to to reflect on this lesson. Are you someone who uses these types of words or phrases? And are you strong enough and courageous enough to stop? Do you have friends that use these types of words or phrases? And are you strong enough and courageous enough and a leader that will tell them to stop using them? Do you have friends and or family members that could be hurt or offended when hearing these types of words or statements? I do. And that's why I don't use them, because I know that it hurts his feelings when he hears these kinds of things. How can you be an advocate for the LGBTQ community? Will you be an upstander? And what I'd like you to do is write 3 sixth grade sentences, 6 or more words, that share your thinking about this lesson. All right, thank you guys very much, and I'll be around to help you with your writing.